Hey, it's Ray Woodcock here, and I was in the process of preparing a fourth video in the series Globalization from Genesis to Geneva, and the next one will be on the significance of Genesis, all the way from civilization through religion to economics. But something happened in Switzerland recently which gave me no option but to stop all of that and make this video, because I want to comment on something I consider to be shameful and dangerous, and quite frankly, from my point of view, stupid. A popular initiative to ban the construction of minarets passed with a 57% majority. It's dangerous, it's stupid. It's dangerous because the practical element of retaliation by Muslim countries through trade with Switzerland, there's a huge amount of trade between Switzerland and Muslim countries. There's also the reciprocity of Christian treatment in Muslim countries, and above all of that, there's the complete cracking of Switzerland's image as a defender of human rights, religious tolerance, and interfaith dialogue, which is the major thrust of religious organizations based in Geneva, as I mentioned in my YouTube video number 2. And then there's the meaning of neutrality for Switzerland and its place as key host to those NGOs and non-NGOs whose role it is to foster peace, understanding, and tolerance across many divides. The United Nations, the World Council of Churches, the Red Cross and the Red Crescent, all of that. Crazy. But let me explain how the vote came to be held. The Swiss federal system embraces elements of direct democracy at the federal, cantonal, and at the local level. Popular initiatives are set in motion by collecting 100,000 signatures within a period of 18 months from the notification of intent to do so. Such initiatives, if accepted by the people, force a change to the constitution. Over time, a number of morally questionable initiatives have been put forward from the right-wing populist Swiss People's Party, the SVP, or in French, the UDC party, misleadingly the Union Democratic of the Centre. They are far from centre. They are right, disturbingly and openly xenophobic. The leader of the party, Christoph Blocher, a wealthy businessman, was the key driver behind the 1992 rejection by Switzerland to join the European community. The party's approach is populist, simplistic, conservative, and protectionist. Images and slogans that put fear of foreigners and differences of any kind into the minds of the masses are the hallmark of their campaigns. Unfortunately, just like in other democracies around the world, like George W. Bush for terrorism and the Iraq War, their methods work with large groups of voters. But winning this particular vote was something of a surprise to everyone, including the original party. But they will now probably use that momentum to bring forward other similarly xenophobic initiatives, and that in itself is scary. This vote about minarets should never have been taken. It should never have passed the scrutiny of the government in the first place. Firstly, there are only 4 minarets in the whole of Switzerland. But unfortunately, local opposition to the last one was the subject of a federal overruling, which created an extra level of determination to push forward with the popular initiative. Minarets are subjected anyway to strict local building codes, as with any other construction, and loudspeakers or any other feature would in any case be subject to those local constraints. The result of this vote will now be open to broad scrutiny outside of Switzerland and for eventual opposition at the European Court on Human Rights. It could thus happen that the vote is declared unconstitutional by the European Court and would in turn then make a lot of conservative voters within Switzerland even more determined to reject openness on anything, including further talks around membership of the European Union. In short, they would eat very happily from the hands of further xenophobic offerings, which I'm sure are just waiting to be served. Feedback from interviews and surveys made after the vote has revealed that minarets in themselves are far from being the issue that voters had in mind. Minarets are, of course, only the symbol of Islam, the image of an encroaching threat, be it the development of a strong presence resulting in extremist acts, as in Britain and elsewhere, or a shift of cultural behaviors, simply like wearing of headscarves in schools, burqas in public places, men not shaking the hands of women, etc. It is clear that managing friction between local law and Sharia law be a more serious part of a truly multicultural integration. But simplistic and intolerant initiatives and outcomes as this most recent Swiss vote risk to prevent us from getting closer to having those critical reflections and the dialogue necessary to move us all forward. Swiss citizens have spoken. Surveys in Spain and France now show that outcomes could be similar if voters there had a chance to speak. Political ruling classes have to listen, but they just might be the ones creating the sentiment. Global confluence is tough to manage. Pushing propaganda in the direction of pulling up the drawbridges, fearing anything different, retracting into protectionism is a well-known and perhaps easier choice. Fighting the confluence in that way is not the ideal response, in my opinion.